that I was going to speak in, so not as many people showed up because there was all this confusion. So I walked on stage ready to give my best, and it was like a quarter, if not less, than the amount of people I expected.
It's the worst.
It's the worst. But it was also like, I realized, I remember taking a spin class once, years ago when I was in the workforce, like a decade ago. And I'll never forget this woman, a spin instructor, and she treated the class as if everyone was there, even though I was the only person that showed up.
Yeah.
And I never forgot her. Like, I so admired her ability to like find it in herself to treat me like there was like 20 or 30 other people spinning behind me.
That's incredible.
That is so genius. I've had that, because speaking at colleges, I once had to go pay people money in the cafeteria because there wasn't going to be even the woman who had booked me, and I'd flown in to like Wyoming. I mean, it gets worse.
You feel that energy, like you need it. Like
you
I
need
do.
it. But what I learned after that was, if there was one person, I was gonna do that exact same thing, and I really psyched myself out. Now I assume no one's going to show up, so that I'm pleasantly surprised.
Low expectations, high intentions.
Yeah,
that's how I try to. But you know what was so amazing about that was that I never forgot her, so I kind of channeled her when I was speaking on the stage. I just really thought about making an impact on people. But what really got me after this, and kind of back to your question, was that there was a red carpet and, you know, the backdrop and people doing interviews after. And so the people who were interviewing me were like, you know, the crowd was loving what you had to say, da-da-da-da. And I remember feeling like sometimes people come in with so much energy, and whether it's authentic or not, they're doing the best they can, they're doing their job, and usually it's a lot of really good people. But what I've found is that sometimes there's people participating in an illusion, especially in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Like the illusion of like this bustling conference when really 15 instead of 200 people showed up for my event. And I'll never forget this feeling of seeing their energy and being like, the audience is loving this. And in my head, I'm like, what audience? But you know what I really got out of that was realizing that being real with them, being real in a world that has so many illusions, especially growing up in Los Angeles, is like my salvation. And what I'm learning is that if anybody's ever low on energy, they're either low on purpose or they're being somebody else. And it is so exhausting. And so when these women met me with like all of this energy of, you know, tell the audience was bustling, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
All 12 of them.
But it didn't have to be unkind, right? All 12. I felt like I was doing a sound check, you know? But like, I remember thinking to myself, I don't need to be unkind. Like, I'm grateful to be here. I got paid to do my job. I wish I could have impacted more people. And I can just speak from my heart and be as real as possible. I think that was such a lesson for me, because I think we live in a world of text messages, internet trolls, and tweets, and the data's officially in. We're so connected that according to research, we're somehow disconnected. And I think that my way of being in the world, as I don't really identify as an influencer, but I have a lot of friends who are, is just being myself. Really, like, the highest integrity, I think, is in with myself and not just with other people. And so I'm always checking in, like, am I being in integrity right now? And I can feel it. And one of my friends, we have a term called cutie tired, where people who are so cute, they're like, hi, oh my God, good to see you. I'm learning from them that, like, you can participate, you know, you can do that. But sometimes your energy is really calm and you just want to meet people there. And so the biggest gift I've given myself and clients, whether I'm coaching somebody or I'm on a stage, is just being myself, because I think it tacitly reminds other people, like, you don't have to be anywhere.
And it gives them permission to be themselves too.
How much do we talk about this?
All the time. Like,
constantly.
Because I find this whole thing bizarre in LA. Like, I'm new here, so I'm not saying South Africa is the most real place in the world.
But you're the most real person I've ever met. And so she just busts out, with shit that you're like, are you sure you want to say that?
Like, it's just so bizarre to me when everyone's acting. I'm like, there's no camera, is there? Like, why are we doing a play right now? Like, it feels so fake, and like, no one's watching, but there are these facades, and it's like, I can tell. We can all tell when it's pretend. But I also feel like I got a lot more. I say to my mom, I had to come to the fakest place in the world to get real.
It's true.
And
I love that.
Allegedly fakest place. I hate it when people say that about LA.
I think there's a real and there's a fake vibe.
There's something for everybody here. I think that, like, you know, it depends on what your mind is looking for. If you're looking for the great people, you're going to find them. If you're looking for the difficult people, you're going to find them. I love LA, but I definitely think that the entertainment industry, it's like a little bubble. I think also me being in the influencer world, all of my friends, I mean, combined, you know, there's like 6 million people following them, and we're hanging out every week, so I'm like looking kind of silly on their Instagram or whatever have you. And I think the biggest thing for me has been seeing through the illusion, like really getting to know their marriages, their hearts, like what are they really going through, and understanding what the world is seeing, how they can catch the perfect angle with the perfect filter and get the makeup looking amazing versus how they're really feeling that day.
Totally.
And that's goals, right? Like we set goals because we think they're going to make us feel something. So we're all just chasing a feeling, thinking that the goal is going to give it to us. And that's why people in Hollywood, of all places, are having breakdowns. You know, Britney's shaving her head. You know, that's what it looks like when your expectations aren't met with your experience.
100%.
But can I say one thing that is now bothering me about Instagram? Everybody's trying to like outdo each other with how miserable they are because they can help you. It's like meant to be like, I know what it's like to be downtrodden. I've had this, this, and this, and it's almost like tragedy comparing.
Yeah, that's true.
I can out tragedy you, and that means I can help you the most, and it's all about selling things. Like there is a way to be inauthentic in your being real.
I totally agree with that also. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that now, like smudge makeup pictures or like really like showing the sadness, but that also feels like sometimes you actually need a private moment of just
to be in the
sadness and then still show up. Like I do a lot of online classes, and sometimes I'll show up if it's a small group of women, like a women's circle, and I look like a piece of shit, my hair's a mess, I've been crying, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm still there doing it, but I wouldn't Instagram that. Yeah. Like I feel like there's a time and place.
Yeah.
Right? What are you thinking of?
Just picturing you crying while leading a women's circle. I'm sorry.
I cried before, and then I'm like in my pajamas.
It's not funny. It's not
Totally. It is funny.
Okay. We talk about setbacks and all the S words that you love so much.
We want to make this episode a very special one because we've got Ashley. So usually we do S words. We do setbacks and sacrifices and secret sauce, and this time we just want to talk about sex. So the reason how this fits in is people show up in a certain way professionally and personally, and there seems to be a marriage between the two where there's very authentic, like how you are personally is how you'd be professionally if we were working together or having a conversation. But then there's a physical aspect, how we are in our relationships.
Yes.
And there still seems to be a disconnect between how we show up there and how we want to be as a friend. So for example, I want to be the supportive, transparent, like loving friend, totally there, but then my relationship choices seem to be very confusing to how I am.
Anna's laughing. Anna, tell us about her relationship choices.
I wouldn't know where to start.
And we like relate on everything, and she's like, but what do you mean?
The one thing I don't relate to her on are her romantic choices.
Okay.
She actively likes tragic cases that are so beneath her.
Oh, I get this.
Do you?
I just literally graduated from this, but I don't know if I've graduated from it because I'm still like, you know, I think that strong women, like, we get a lot of our value from making an impact because that's part of our
and
strength.
changing lives.
Yeah, and we believe totally. Yeah, the saving, rescuing complex, and it's so insidious and sneaky because you don't even notice when you're rescuing somebody because you think you're just having a helpful conversation, but then it's like, how many helpful what's the conversion rate of helpful conversations and just normal conversations, you know? And then sometimes we find that and I think also there's a biology to it, a chemistry to it, where people, you know, it's proven with research that our brains are getting a dopamine hit by saving somebody and going through the pain of them not being able to fix it and us coming back. There is a chemical dependency on that. It is an addiction.
Yeah,
and that's why I think people who get out of toxic relationships, I literally am so captivated by them because I know I've been in one toxic relationship throughout my life and I'll never forget it because I did feel my biology with it. Now I'm in a healthy relationship, but what I'm learning from that, just kind of going back to sex and like your physicality and your being, is that I think a lot of strong women, especially my friends, we struggle to step into our feminine energy and like kind of turn into butter when we walk through the door. And I don't want to be in charge of like me and my partner's life. Like I don't want to be calling the shots and fixing them and running their life just because I tend to have a gift for helping people figure out their job hunt or figure out what they want to do with their career. And so I think for me, one of the most important things has been to pay attention because dynamics go so deep. You know, and so to pay attention from the beginning, like what is this dynamic that I'm wanting to intentionally create?
And what is it for you right now?
Yeah, I would say right now with my relationship, it's such a deep, connected partnership. But what I'm noticing is like I'm so comfortable that I'm losing like my feminine, like my allure. And you know, like too many pairs of sweatpants too soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because I just want to be myself, but I also want to nurture that flame that is so new.
Yeah, well, it's like the Esther Perel Mating in Captivity. I think it's called. I've never read it, but I pretend to have read it all the time.
I
didn't even do that. But the whole, you know, the whole point is always keep that illusion going a little bit. I mean, I think it's also interesting too. This type A woman who's type B in her relationship.
Yeah.
And even finding a man who wants a type A woman was like a lot of work for me. And then finding one who actually is very supportive of my type A-ness, this is the first time I've had that.
That's so great. This guy sounds really good, Anna,
so
David.
does yours.
Yeah,
So I want to know, like, how don't you get bored?
Yeah, that's a
when
great
it's
question.
healthy? Like,
That's true.
And I think the thing is also because as a business person, we're used to challenges and we're creating things and building and we're dealing with problems, and that makes me feel alive. Like, that actually keeps me calm if there's a bit of a crisis going on. So in a relationship, if it's good, like, and it's replenishing.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, I think that there's depth. I love your question. You're like, is good boring? That's great. And I see why you're like picking these men.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think that in my case, what I'm learning more and more and more is that depth is everything, and not just with your partner, but with yourself. And so I found that when I have something going on in my life and I look for bigger answers, you can't show somebody blind spots that you haven't seen on yourself. You can't share colors with someone that you haven't found within yourself. So what I've been doing is like really going deep with myself in my career more than ever right now. I'm working on my book. I'm working on the U-Turn podcast. I'm working on turning it into a movie right now over at CAA. It's like I'm continuing to work and be inspired. And the more inspiration, the more I play a bigger game in my career, the more of an edge I am on for myself. And that brings up so much more of my worthiness, my insecurities, the work I need to do on myself. So the deeper I go with myself, the deeper insight I have with myself, the richer the conversations I can bring into my partnership. And so to me, if a partnership is boring, they either don't have a real connection, and they're just filling a void.
Yeah.
Or they're disconnected from themselves and they can't even begin to really connect.
Do you know what I'm getting from this? And then I want you to ask questions because I'm going to start getting all esoteric. But like as you were speaking, I was like, I'm getting this visual of like spreading ourselves so thin when we diversify and do all these things at once. And then the opposite to that is like the inversion of digging deep in.
Yeah.
And hey,
So it's inversions.
yeah, I love inversions. But the deeper we're going in, like we're cultivating such a richer soil for ourselves, and then that's actually going to like accelerate our growth even more.
Yeah.
In all aspects.
And having
so
our
maybe it's
own
important to have a
lives.
good relationship.
I think it is.
Productivity.
I think I find, that when that's working, it only enhances my career.
Yes.
And it only goes better.
Well, I think a good relationship will, and I think people who are working with light, like all of us, it's like our light, we want to shine it. And if we choose to be with somebody that pulls on our energy in a way that doesn't give us energy, even though we think that the connection's so deep we're getting energy, but if it hurts and we're in pain or if it's disconnected, I mean, number one, people see disconnection and they think that's an invitation to abandon ship. When really disconnection is an invitation to go deeper with yourself and figure out where are you being disconnected. But I found more than ever that being with a partner that isn't good for me, it drains my energy, my light dims, and I really can't go out there and do what I want to do in the world because my energy is tied up trying to figure something out or trying to fix something versus being in a supportive, inspiring partnership where I leave the house and I feel like I can take on the world because I've got somebody behind me that can hear me, can see me, can be with me.
Okay, but I love all this talk, but what I don't want to neglect is that Ashley, at the age of 26, had launched a multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
That
to
whole
me.
thing.
That whole thing.
Yeah,
Remember
let's
that
talk
thing?
about that whole thing.
Let's just touch on that. You created a course, it blew up.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer that when you follow what feels good for you, your purpose is really on the periphery of that. And to me, a lot of people are like, okay, Ashley, how do I even feel what feels good? And that makes sense. I mean, we're hearing researchers right now calling our gut our second brain, which makes sense. There's 200 million neurons in it, which is equal to a cat or dog's brain. So what does that really mean? That when your nervous system's off, it's feedback that something's not working for you when you're contracting or versus when you're expanding, which is what we're going for. So for me, I studied counterterrorism, national security in college, and that something about it felt right. I didn't know if it was my end-all be-all, but something about pursuing it felt good, and I did so. And on the periphery of that, I learned to be an amazing job seeker. And that was what inspired me to start a coaching business after I worked through the belief that the idea of being a career coach sounded synonymous with the word poverty or like unemployment. Like, I remember thinking of coaching, it was 10 years ago before coaching was cool, and there were no career coaches for millennials on the internet. I had a weird website with like a cartoon of me on it, and the cartoon didn't even look like me, which was like so bad. Amazing. Yeah, it was really something special. Like, I think I paid somebody on like Fiverr for like $7 to create a cartoon. Yeah, it was really a treat. Yeah. And I think that on that journey, working through everything, getting clients, I started creating a course because I got burnt out and I wanted leverage. So what was leverage in that world? It was courses, webinars. So I ended up working on a webinar and a course for about a year, and I was failing. And against reason, I was so motivated by passion and inspiration, because along the way in my counterterrorism journey, I became such a good job seeker, and I wanted to harness that, and I wanted to help people because I really felt like I found the magic bullet.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I learned how to get job offers, and everybody's buying into the belief that they're stuck where they are, that they can't get out, and it's not true. And I was so excited. I felt like I had this like big secret people didn't even know that I could show them. So after a year of putting into a webinar presentation, marketing a job hunting course, I eventually got the courage to really scale it. I invested everything I had into it. I went from $150,000 of debt to $5 million in revenue in 2 months. Something just shifted, and thousands of people in 31 countries ended up buying my course. And it was such a lesson for me to realize that success really is on the same block as failure, and really the people who succeed are just the ones that are trudging through failure and having a better conversation with themselves about the failure.
Totally. I want to know now about with courses.
We have to wrap up. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I promise you guys can talk afterwards. Because I did want to also mention that your book is coming out next year.
Yes.
It's called U-Turn, or is that the
final title? YOU and Turn. It's the same name as my podcast.
And the podcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher and all the places.
All the places.
So now we have this really fun word game.
Oh yeah, what is it? I'm nervous.
We're going to say words and you choose one or the other.
Okay. Don't think.
Okay.
Just grab the first one.
I'm great at not thinking.
Yoga or spinning?
Spinning.
Tinder or Match?
Match.
Freelance or full-time?
Freelance.
Meditation or medication?
Meditation.
Full moon or new moon?
Full moon.
Text or email?
Text.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. We keep talking to you all day. There's so much
for having me. That's so fun.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. This was such a treat.
Thanks for having me. So great.
If you want to watch more of our shows, you can go to SheEoShowTV.com. And this was SheEo with Anna David.
And Lauren Wallet. You can also follow us on Instagram at SheEo TV.
SheEo Show.
Sorry.
I liked it when we said that together.
Yeah. That was an accident, though.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
This is the question I wanted to ask.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
What do you think? Okay, there's two questions. One is everyone's doing courses now.
What time is it? Because I have
okay.
to go.
Everyone's